exactly what they're made of.
And now we're going to get into it. Game number 1 of day 2. The knockout stage begins now.
Oh boy. So yeah, let's go back and talk about some of the comps that people are going to be running here. Of course, we had that Yone, through some absolute blinders. Megs, of course, pointed out as well, we've had ourselves a Jade Siphon, which hasn't actually managed to win any lobbies. But there's one comp in particular that I like because, again, it's a little out of this world. It's Lilia reroll with 3 first places across the first day of play.
Eeping it up, baby. And I think that's one of the compositions that I find most interesting, especially on a day like today. You're going to be expecting some players to go for that hyper late game, that level of high risk, but some of them, they're going to be saying, what if I just high roll a reroll composition? What if I just go all in? And Lilia reroll has a really strong cap played that way. You can go for the level 6 reroll for Braum and Lilia. Level 7, you've got Diana, Olaf, you've got the 4 scales going there, and they will provide a ton of damage for you. Got that natural damage reduction, and that gives you a really high cap board for a level 7 board.
And of course, it does take a certain selection of augments to come together to really have that take off. But let's take a quick look at something that is much more generic. Mirage will be Warlords this time around. Of course, we see that be a great general choice for a lot of players.
I'm going to be looking forward in the next couple of rounds, see if anyone's running Shimmer Scale, figure out what that was. Because yesterday, every time we saw a Goldmancer staff, every time we saw Warlords, it was Deja time. It wasn't just the Yone focus that we saw for the rest of the day.
So we do see Yone and Leona both there for Solo Gasang. Not going to take them this time around, even though they could be stacking up the warlords. Going to be sticking towards Jade. As I mentioned before, consistency is key when you're up at the top.
Yeah, and of course that Jade composition, we saw that Soifen composition as well. The Des talked about it earlier, so I suspect that's what Solo is going to be going for as we get ready to head into our augment stage. We check out Skarambez's board, nothing too exciting here either.
And Skarambez picking up number 11 as of day number 1. So definitely one of our players who are looking to try and bust into that top 4. They're kind of in a little bit of a no man's land there where, if they do take some risks, they could be overtaken themselves. But if you don't take any risks, they can't penetrate top 8.
Oh, devastating charge. I want to see it.
That would be an amazing Lydia choice.
I know. I'm waiting for it. It's probably going to be Celestial Blessing. They talked about it on the desk, one of the most consistent augments in the game at the moment. So that's what I'm expecting Solo Gasang to go for. But if there's any player I trust to pull out reroll compositions in the EMEA finals, it's Solo Gasang.
Yes!
Oh, even better, baby. Let's go!
Solo's built different, and so are we. This is exactly what we wanted to see. So remember again, the recent change to the built different augments means you cannot pick up multiple copies of them. They are going to be on gold for the entire game. But it's stronger than silver. It is a build-around. We saw it place 3rd place yesterday on stream. Wasn't as strong as I would hope it had been, but it allows you to play multiple flexible carries. You're going to be going into the Graves, who we've already seen be very strong, and allow you to pair him with either Nyla for a secondary carry or Seraphine to set him up even more effectively, which is something you see very traditionally in that Seraphine Graves composition that has been, frankly, haunting competitive. Yeah, and I mean, that's the reason, of course, that, or at least the major reason why Built Different is seeing so much attention. Of course, there's a few other ways you can take it, but let's get our little flavor as of that first round. So you can see, we've got our early winners coming in. It seems like our players are going to be building up some decent 2-stars to kick us off here. We'll see if this is going to be one of those games that goes longer, as, of course, there we go, our augments are here.
Yeah, I'm looking here at Sweller Tiger's board, going for the early Olaf. Just going to let him die multiple times. Got potential items for Yone. No, just going to sell him instead and go for Giant Slayer on Ezreal. Not looking for that Olaf Yone composition.
And that's surprising, particularly, we've seen a lot of players doing very well with Yone, but very well with Olaf as well. A very close cousin of that kind of composition, and you can make it work the exact same way. Bricks, of course, currently undefeated with that better together. That's a huge amount of shielding early on.
Looking forward to seeing him go, potentially, as talked about by Wida, that Seraphine Graves composition again. And guys, at home, if you're not used to competitive TFT, get ready for us to say Seraphine Graves as many times as you think humanly possible, then add 2 or 3 more. The 2 of them have been really dominating the competition, really flexible composition in terms of not needing those 3 stars, but still able to go very late into the game. So I'm expecting that, or potentially one of those Zeke's Herald-focused compositions here from Bricks.
And I do want to pick up on one of the points which they had on the desk as well. You mentioned there were some games, to go back to Yone for a moment, that we saw multiple different players trying to pick up Yone and use as a transitional carry. It still didn't stop Yone from ultimately still being a super strong unit and a win condition.
Yeah, Potable during that game was saying, all right, I've got a 2-star Yone. That sucks, but don't worry about it. I'm just going to wait, going to bide my time, and survived shockingly long before he was able to roll down after everyone pivoted off, find the Yone 3, and win the lobby.
All right, so let's see. What have we got here? Raiko. So they've committed into the Warriors straight away. They've got themselves an emblem. They've got themselves a Yone with a rapid fire cannon, and we know that means trouble for everybody else.
Double rapid fire cannon also haunted our games yesterday. 2 players on stream able to pull that one out and pull out victories with it. The Warrior Diana, definitely a newer adaptation here coming out from Raiko, fairly unique. But we've also seen him play a lot of Scale Scorn on stream previously. So this is a composition around which he's going to be comfortable.
I mean, Raiko didn't pick up any first places at all yesterday, but they only got 1 bot 4. They're number 6 overall, so again, they're very close to being those upper class upper class of players, because of course it's very important to know exactly where you stand in the standings. But let's get onto our carousel. As we can see, our players have mostly committed their items early on, so we definitely get the impression that business is picking up.
Interested to see where Sweller goes from here. We saw him going for the early Giant Slayer slam and popped that onto an Ezreal, but he's now got the option to go heavily into that AD composition, picked up an Olaf again. Don't suspect that means he's actually going for it, but it means he's going to have a whole lot of punch to whatever carry he puts that on.
And oh, hello, it's our old friend Karma. More recently removed from general contention after the nerfs to her and the Dragonmancer making the whole frontline Karma thing, fortunately, mostly a thing of the past. We don't tend to see it so much in tournament play. But for Super here, I mean, they're doing pretty darn well. They're the only undefeated player in the lobby with just a couple of rounds left to keep hold of that streak.
My eyes may deceive me here, Counterfeit, but that's the point of the Mirage trait. I think this is going to be heading towards a Deja. You've got the Shiv already there, which is a fine item on Deja herself, but also helps amplify her damage when put on other units, and you've already got the Warlord stacking on that early Nunu and the Leona.
Let's see how it does here. Up against Solo, of course, we know has got a pretty decent board of their own, and Karma's spending a little bit of time with taking a nap. The Celestial Blessing will keep the front line up for a little bit, but ultimately, Karma's not taking a ton of damage until nearly everybody else on the board is dead. The win streak is going to be over. Nobody makes out of stage 2 alive.
This is genuinely surprising to me because on average we get 1 or 2 people coming out of these stages uncontested, but now the lobby's going to slow down quite a bit. The free economy you get from fully win streaking into Krugs is absolutely disgusting. Without that, this lobby is going to start pretty low and slow.
We'll see if Super can at least recover themselves, but one player which I will definitely want to check up on if we can get the chance is Sina in a little bit.
Oh, in the meantime.
Oh, well, I guess that does helpfully bring together another one of the points you brought up before. Shimmer Skill is absolutely everywhere, and this time round, it's not a directly offensive item. It is a good early Shimmer Skill item, the Determined Investor, but it does not give any board strength to start with.
No, but I'm thinking towards the late game, and this is something you can pop on a Yone. If you go for that full diamond hands, you can use the Guardian frontline. We saw how effective that has been, especially, Idis paired with Braum. That's one of the strongest frontlines you're going to be able to find. So I'm looking forward to seeing where Raiko goes with this. He's got a lot of options open to him.
But as I said, their board is still a little bit dicey. Yeah. I think Yone is still doing enough work to get through, even though they're the only real offensive option apart from, I suppose, that Diana warrior on the backline who's very slowly taking down the Seraphine.
There we go.
I think it remains in place for now. So Raiko is on the rise. Solo as well. Again, nobody undefeated out of stage 2, but 2 players streaking.
Yeah, I mean, 4 win streak, not too shabby on their end. Now, going to be another quick sell coming in here as the diamond hands get swapped around. Looks like pulling out that Scale Scorn.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, we know the Scale Scorn can absolutely get the job done. Even if you go, if you go to the Warrior route, if you go down the pure Scale Scorn route, both of them very strong. With Sina, this is a player we've been looking at up for a little while. Sina ended out 14th overall in day number 1, but the reason why I love Sina so much is because they are one of our 3 players who managed to push through Lilia reroll to first place.
That's right. We're obviously not going to see it this game. The board is setting up, though, towards that Shimmer Scale Lagoon. And now the blue buff slam is going to all but guarantee that fantastic items for a Psalm in the future. And that early econ trait should help out quite a bit, just missing the Nasus for the time being. Never mind. There we go. Solved it.
As we look at the side of the board here, we can see the win streaks being put together. One thing which we really want to point out here, Solo and Raiko, we noticed, of course, they're both on big streaks, but Skarambes and Sana, they're both trying to set up their own win streaks. And of course, we've got 4 players win streaking, 4 players lost streaking. As we talked about yesterday, you can't keep all of those streaks intact. Somebody's going to lose out big by losing a big chunk of their economy.
I don't feel like it's going to be Sinar at this point. You get a Kai'Sa 2, you get a Rabadon's, and a blue buff. With this composition, that's going to be looking mighty fierce as these early rounds play out. Bricks, on the other hand, one of those players we really want to highlight this game. 3rd place currently in the standings, can play for one of those more consistent top 4 angled compositions, does not need to be going for a desperation play for 1st or 8th.
I mean, that's the unique privilege of being up at the top of the table. We talk about the whole player experience here coming into day 2. This is a pretty unusual situation to not have any eliminations from day 1 to day 2. You get the chance to reconsider as we look to our second augments, and yes, we might be getting a lot more focus.
I want this double trouble. I don't know if it's optimal, and frankly, I don't care. I think it's optimally fun. And that's what I'm about. Oh, reroll coming in.
Raiko's not about fun, though.
Raiko, no fun for us here, just dubs. And frankly, as a fan of the Italian region, it's just a country. All right. For now. But as a fan of the Italian players, I like him going for this more hyper-focused competition, but picking up Jeweled Lotus.
All right, I'm intrigued here. Normally we'll be seeing the Jeweled Lotus being built towards a late-game Dragon Ball, but that's obviously not what we've got on the table here. Maybe we're going to be trying to do something a little bit spicy with our friend Jace, but we'll see. Raiko doesn't have a streak to protect, but they have got a good amount of HP.
Vertical Mirage is an option here. Yone, buddy, there you go. Found his way out of the trap there, sitting in the back. Just wanted to hang out with his friends there, Peter.
Well, it's one though, as here as we're checking with Skarambes, again, we noticed that there were players who were trying to win streak, players who were trying to lost streak. Right now, Solo Kazang is the only player managing to keep a significant win streak intact. And I think, again, this is playing back to what we were talking about before. These are very fiercely contested lobbies. I think being able to keep a streak going, or at least a win streak going, is going to be really tough.
And we're watching Raiko struggle a little bit here in this lobby because it is so high tempo. A Yone 1, even with fully stacked Warlords, is not going to do a whole lot of damage. I hate to break it to you, Yone. You're just not cutting it.
No, and I'm really intrigued by where Raiko is going to be going from this one. As I said, the Jeweled Lotus, surprising. We have got, of course, that the Determined Investor going to be paying off. You mentioned the Diamond Hands makes for an enormous amount of extra time for Yone to get the work in. But if Yone's not doing a lot of damage, that's not going to matter.
We've seen this a lot in the recent meta, especially Guardian composition. Last night, a player in the North American Regional Qualifiers, I just want everyone to have this fun fact, went for a full Cannoneer reroll, going for Zeri 3. And the problem there was exactly what we're describing, where it's just you get to the late game, and your backline doesn't do enough damage and just gets exploded. Doesn't matter how tanky your frontline is, if there's no damage to back it up. Raiko might not actually be running into that this one. Oh. See, I caster cursed it again. Come on.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, a safe carry, or relatively safe carry in the Yone who stays towards the back and maybe doesn't have enough damage, Graves kind of hits the opposite end, which is a lot of damage, but almost has like a negative Guardian Angel in that he throws himself into the opposing team, and if you don't play your positioning really well, you lose your big damage carry immediately.
Frankly, if I were running around with a shotgun buffed up by my team, I would also be screaming, charging into the front line. So I kind of feel for Graves on that point. But we're seeing how effective Solo Gasang is being with that win streak he was broken recently. But now he's got that Graves. He's got the main carry for his built different composition. I expect him to be sitting pretty for the next couple of rounds.
So let's take a look at our overall standings right now in terms of this game, at least. We can see that for the most part, there's actually a relatively small difference between first place and 7th place, with, of course, the large exception of Bricks.
Yeah, Bricks unfortunately not holding too great in this round. But one of the things we were talking about for the other players is that you really want to go for those high-risk, high-reward compositions. Brix, we were talking to him yesterday during the interview. One of the things that he said that has never been more relevant than this game right now is his plan day one was just to build up a huge block of points so that day two he could go as hard as he wanted. Going for this strong, very risky composition that he did go for, a bad start here with just the better together, no Graveses, he's going to be feeling fine. He's going to still be calm, and hopefully the econ he got and the upgrades he just picked up will be enough to keep him through.
I mean, certainly the better together combined with now 3 different buff items at least is going to be pretty impressive. The Graves themselves only with the Runan so far, so still a little way to go for Brix, but again, they are a player who does need to, if not necessarily climb up the standings, arrest their descent before they start getting too far behind anybody else to get a good finish.
Yeah, I mean, just one off of Graves, one off of Zeri. As soon as Brix hits literally anything in his composition, he's going to be doing fine. The Cybernetic as well, those implants are going to be giving plenty of AD, plenty of health, and going to keep his board as strong as he can get it until he hits those upgrades.
The big concern here, though, of course, we're back to 2 players at the top, Sweller and Sina. They're both win streaking again. And we know, in this situation here, this has been a tough lobby to maintain win streaks in, so our players are not going to be holding anything back. They're going to be pumping gold into keeping those streaks going. As we check in with Raiko again, we can see that we've got ourselves a fully itemized Yone to deal with.
And finally a Yone too as well. Not just a single solitary boy, he's got his 2 friends and they've fusion danced into a Yone 2 carry. And it looks like, however, Brix's board is still sitting very happy in this matchup, which does not bode well for our Italian player.
No, and I do wonder if maybe the dual Lotus being added onto the Yone board there was an attempt to try and extend the lifespan of the Yone to maybe pitch out a bit higher. But for now, Brix, feeling pretty good. They've managed to get themselves a position where Raiko is, in fact, is on the same HP as them. Scarambe's solo, they're starting to drop down as well. So there is light at the end of the tunnel for Brix and a chance to climb back up.
Let's take a look now at Revan's board. Was going for that Graves composition, but I see 2 Deja floating in the back there. And that, to me, signals a potential pivot with the Warlords. Would be plenty of AP to back up the healing from Death's Dance and the attack speed from the Rageblade.
Well, I mean, certainly for Revan, what we talked to them before, they ended up 30th out of 32 coming out of the first day. They got an 8th with Graves and with Soam as well, so I wouldn't blame them at all for being more inclined to try out some new compositions today and hopefully have the miracle of miracle runs to get through and at least improve their position.
Definitely not having the best of times here in the Rising Legends finals. But on the point you made earlier about the shape of this lobby, we're now at 4-1, we're getting all of our roll downs. And you mentioned those win streaks. But notice that every single win streak has been from a different player. We had Solo Gassan coming in earlier looking really strong, but now he's sitting there in the middle of the pack. Now it's Sweller and Sinar who struggled early, but are now keeping the win streaks, which to me signals that the econ might be pretty even across the board in terms of total strength.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's so much gold being pumped into raw combat power. And of course, that exemplifies that very well for Sweller. Instead of a Zaya, for now, it's an Ezreal doing a good amount of work. But Sweller's win streak, like all win streaks, like all empires, comes to a close.
And now, potential rebound for a lot of our players as we come up on our final augment round. A lot of them, I assume, are just going to be praying that it's not a prismatic.
Well, your prayers are answered. It's gold all the way across the board, which means our players are at least playing in their relatively comfortable area, augment-wise, even if the lobby itself has been very spicy indeed.
Staying United is really going to help Revan here. I do want to give a shout out for our viewers. Pay attention here. We've got multiple players contesting this Graves composition. Yes, you only do need a 2-star, but if you really want to go feast or famine, if you want to cap out this composition as hard as possible, you really do need those 3 stars.
Well, this lobby kind of reminds us of what we saw yesterday, which is, we had lobbies where there was tons of gold to go around. I think in this lobby, where the gold is being spent on the units, it's being spent on the board, we do get a lot more mileage out of these lower end boards because everyone's just chucking everything in to try and grab their own win streak.
Back on Raiko's board here. We've been seeing this struggle consistently throughout the latter half of this game. Only sitting on a Yone 2, has a third item, healing item as well, which is going to lower the cap of the board, especially with the Yone 2. But hasn't really found anything more. Just 2 more sitting on his bench, has a duplicator, but the Tiamat is looking like it actually may turn things around. I was getting ready to criticize this board more. Do my man Yone bad. And I apologize to all Yones everywhere, except the ones that show up in my solo queue games. I'm sorry for underestimating you. With the Tiamat, that AoE seems to have turned Raiko's fortunes around.
Well, it's a nice meta call. Because, if we're dealing with a lot of Seraphine Graves comps, we've got a lot of comps that are clumped together. And the Tiamat gives your Yone, the area effect on his attacks. So clumped comps and area effect damage is always going to be a good combination.
Oh, we've got Sinar going for some Dragon Imperialist, an augment we have not seen a whole lot of. Not once on stream yesterday, but that is going to give so much damage to his Dragon. Of which he has none on the board at the moment.
Don't
Peter.
worry, it's coming. It's coming right now.
Yeah, I mean, I see the bench, but I'm just... Come on, put it in. Let Sohm have some time to shine. Finally, her damage has never been very impressive. This is finally a chance for her to show off.
Well, that's the thing. Over in the US regionals, which are going on at the same time, and will of course be happening once our event is done here today, they will definitely be leaning much more towards the Sohm side of things, whereas we've been going more towards the Yone side. So I think actually, maybe Sohm is onto something here. Maybe this is an avenue that's been underexplored in day one.
I think similarly we might be seeing some Xayah comps later today. I'm just going to put that bookmark in it,
absolutely.
See if it comes back. NA regionals have been just infested with Xayahs. Exterminators haven't come in and cleaned out the nests, so they're just popping up everywhere.
Well, of course, we saw that Ezra from before, with a really good setup for a guild Xayah composition from before. So,
yeah.
But people have been really rating Ezra as an item carrier. And again, we are in day 2. This is the last day for our players to try and find their way up the table. I think trying to be the first ones on these comps that have proven themselves in another very relevant and immediate competition is a very smart move.
Rotating over here to Skarambez's board, this is a player that is not going to be very happy with this position. Not that anyone would be. Skarambez sitting right in that crucial area of 11th place, right on the cusp of hitting that top 8 that would guarantee him safety for the final day. However, 30 HP at the moment does not exactly bode well for him.
At least what we do have is something that Dark has certainly brought to our attention in the first couple of games. The Guardians coming out in pretty good force, and we've also got the Mirage emblem as well on our Idis front line. So that's going to be a very beefy front line that will hopefully allow time for Deja to scale up.
Carries his Guardians was something that the desk brought up as well. We saw a lot of ASOL yesterday with that Guardian emblem, allowing a lot more tankiness in that backline. A shocking amount. Skarambez picks up a disgusting amount of gold.
Oh boy, yeah. Unfortunately, I think we do have a little bit of a problem when it comes to the Guardians, which is, you get the shield, but you only get it one time. It's not like a continuous effect. You're becoming more tanky. So when you're up against these DPS, just doing damage and damage and damage, once those shields drop, you effectively don't have a trait anymore.
Well, also, the 4 1-star units on the board really is not helping with this position. Rolling down for some more shots, but I'm not too optimistic about Skarambez's position here. Will probably have to use that duplicator on Deja if he wants to stay in it. Only 19 HP as he heads into the Dragon, and he will drop it.
Yeah, we call it, and I think it is. Skarambez acknowledging.
Raiko.
11 coming in. Oh my gosh, Raiko hits a 3-star Yone, but we'll check in with them in a second. Skarambez, I think, they're currently on a 7 loss streak, so they kind of want to lose this round, but just in such a way that they don't take any more damage they can absolutely, possibly allow for. Guardian 6 has come in, so it will be hard to knock down these individual units.
I think either option is something Skarambez is going to be happy with, because think of the position in which he loses here. Yes, he maintains his streak, and that's great to recover his now abysmal economy. But if he loses here, he's 1 hit from dead for the rest of the game. There is no HP buffer. So I think the win is not as bad as you might expect.
All right, at least we've made it to Treasure Dragon, and our players will be able to pick up a little bit for themselves.
and as will our viewers. Remember, there's a giveaway going in AMD in chat. Type it once, please, guys. Do not spam it. If I see the chat with AMD flying up, I'm not going to do anything because I don't have Twitch chat open at the moment. But our mods are going to be upset with you. Type it once, click the link, enter the giveaway on Twitter, win a laptop. I have one of these things. They're absolutely fantastic.
All right, so we've got ourselves, well, we've got a regular Treasure Dragon. It does mean we're going to be getting a little bit more reinforcement. Let's see what Skaramis has got for. So we've got ourselves a Morello's, and we've got ourselves some more shielding. We got the first aid kit, so shielding is certainly pretty palatable. And we've got a whole load of Guardians, but we're really relying exclusively on Deja to get the job done, who doesn't even have 3 damage items.
And that's why I'm making all of these non-committal, weird-sounding noises. Deja really doesn't have a lot amplifying her damage, frankly, anything. Hand of Justice's damage amplification, you might as well ignore it. It is so small compared to what an actual damage item would give her. Sure, Guardian keeps her alive for longer, keeps that 6 Guardian synergy going, but Rage Blade is just going to make her attack faster. There's nothing that makes her hurt more in these items. Unlike Raiko's board with that Yone, with the Tiamat, with the Hand of Justice for himself, but importantly, Yone just rips through boards.
Yeah, we had our questions about the Jeweled Lotus, but I think it may not even matter, honestly, in this case. This is an absolute beast of a board and a beast of an entirely different breed than what we're seeing from Skarambes here. I don't think they are going to die.
That shield!
Wait a second, the shield one off.
Nah.
It's still not good enough, but admittedly, that was a pretty big shield.
Disgusting, to say the least. And this is one of the things that we talked about for Deja very early on in the set. Back when I had no idea how to play her, I was like, that animation, man, I just want her to keep attacking. That's where so much damage comes from. And in that situation, look, I'm not sure if he was going to win anyways, but you see a Deja going into the animation when she's like 20 HP, and my first thought is just, oh.
I mean, it's almost Volibear levels of frustration when it
She's
comes
like, no,
to...
stop raising your arms, it's fine, just hit them.
So for Skarambes, they're down to 12. They're going to be up against Solo Kazang, who, of course, I think you mentioned it specifically yesterday, when we're in the land of the shields, there's one unit that is Queen.
Yeah, Nyla on that board, sitting in the back line. Those shields are going to give her a reset, give her a shield of her own. The problem with this Nyla in particular is all she's got on her back is a Zephyr, so she's not going to be doing a whole lot at 1 star. The Graves, however, in this built different composition, having a much better... Nyla!
You've got infinite shields, you've got infinite cards. It's not doing a ton of damage, but it's doing enough. Skarambes is out of there, and we actually get to see, before our very eyes, adaptation coming for our players. They choose the right tools for the job.
Vindication! Finally! I was saying yesterday, I was like, Nyla into these Guardian compositions is going to be absolutely disgusting. And then we never saw once throughout the entire day a Nyla going into a Guardian composition. But finally we see it. Finally we see her with more shields than God himself. Not particularly known for shields, but just let me keep going.
Well, I mean, another comp that is known for shields is Revan's here. And look, this time we've got a Nyla with all the trimmings. This Nyla should absolutely chain through and kill pretty much everybody, while Solo works their magic from the backline. We'll keep an eye on that Nyla. You can see, there's no way to keep that backline alive, to keep pumping out shields, when Nyla is just being an absolute nightmare.
Sinar, one of those players we highlighted early on as going for this composition, having a great start, and having that win streak early on. Seems like that economy has worked out, as now he's knocked out Revan.
Oh, that is a real heartbreaker, but that's the problem. We've talked about this in a broad sense, that players are generally being pretty rewarded for choosing a path early on and sticking to it. It's so disastrous when you realize that path has led you into the path of an oncoming freight train.
I'm now looking across at these health totals, and we've seen these players ping-ponging across several times. Sweller was previously at the top of the leaderboard with a win streak. Solo Kazang and Sinar both started with win streaks, and they seem to have regained their position. This built different board for Solo, still working pretty damn well.
We do know that the Nyla clock is ticking, But of course, in terms of the players overall in the lobby as we start to move towards our endgame, do remember that Bricks came in with 3rd place from day one. They are very well positioned right now with only 6 players remaining to do what we asked of them, which is get your top 4s in.
Consistent top 4s is the name of the game for the top 4 players, fittingly, because if they can just manage that, they're making it all the way to the finals tomorrow.
And Swillertagi called it out, and there we have it, the Guild Zaya, but a well-placed effort keeps her out of play for a while. We have got Jace providing a lot of time for Zaya to build up, even so, and it does look like, the Zaya, you call it, coming in from the Americas, much like yourself, and causing a lot of problems. I'll let you finish that because it's yourself.
No. I've never caused a problem in my entire life, and I have no idea what you're talking about, Peter. But the Zaya composition, I genuinely expected it to go so much worse. A Zaya 1 into a built different composition, running that Graves 2, but this is what we saw yesterday as well. The reason the built different composition stopped in 3rd place wasn't able to find a 3-star carry, and that's what you need to elevate that composition to anything but a top 4 finish.
Well, let's check out Super, who we haven't seen for a little while. Again, this time we're going back to Deja. This is a 3-item Deja who is stacked up. We've also got the newly buffed Nunu in the mix as well to provide a little bit more damage. Super is the lowest place on the scoreboard right now. We'll see who they're going to face up against. Solo is up for a scrap.
We'll see if Solo's board does better against this one, which would be an indicator that he's going to be doing a lot better as he goes into the later rounds and has the potential to roll. But with his economy, not sure a win here is all that he needs. Deja, please, just hit him.
Oh, no! In the middle of a cast, exactly like you said. It's so painful. Well, I suppose that's the way the cookie crumbles. Again, this is the Nyla with not really the damage items, but still causing an absolute menace.
Super Eagle barely surviving off that loss. 3-loss streak will at least give him a little bit of econ, but he's going to have to turn this one around. Not quite enough gold to go 9 yet, but one more loss sends him to the grave.
And that's a big problem. You kind of caught through the devil in Deep Blue Sea here. You can't get, you've got no way to bring in more damage to your composition, and you're completely reliant on that Deja to get the job done. If the ball gets spread out, all of your damage is going to a very specific point, the opposite corner, nearly every time.
Now, Varus picked up, woohoo, just there for the 6 gold total. Does have enough to level, would be able to pit in that Seraphine. That's exactly what he's going to do, or pick up another unit. Looking to roll here. Come on, find some useful.
Oh, boy.
Soraka's, I mean, if he wins, Soraka's not bad.
That's a fairly big if, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely, at least you've got somewhere relevant to put that Rabbit in. So I was really worried that Super Eagle would just, end up with nothing. Actually manages to sneak in the Soraka just at the end, spends everything to try and stay alive up against Sina, who has got the Zoe. They've got themselves the damage of Nyla, who will get shrouded on the way in, though, so won't be able to go off as quickly.
Yeah, Psalm in the backline is where you want to be watching here to see how Sinar's board is doing. Level 9 is going to be hard for Eagle to beat. Just hit it himself. Soraka uncontested in the backline means this Deja has longer than she normally would to fire away, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough as she gets tackled by Nyla. Super Eagle, like his carry, has fallen.
We'll be dropping out in 6th with Swillertagi going out in 5th, which means our top 4 have officially arrived, and Bricks has reached the comfort zone of a top 4. If they can actually finish out strongly here, Bricks, then they can really come roaring into day 2.
Yeah, I mean, day 3 is all but guaranteed. If he's able to take a first here, there'd be 4 firsts for him within 6 games. An absolutely insane top 1 rate. But Raiko with this front line, I have to shout this out. We were talking about it earlier on. Guardians with Protector's Vow, absolutely fantastic synergy, turns those shields into a lot more effective HP once they pop. Yes. However, popping them on an Idis with diamond hands and herself a Guardian is going to be quite the task here as Yone gets ripped to shreds.
Well, we did have the big question there of how do you deal with Yone, and apparently it's just go into the backline as Raiko goes out. They were the number 6 finisher from day 1, so that was a big player that Bricks was really looking at to be a direct competition for them, taken out in 4th.
Top 4, going to be happy with that if you're Raiko, even happier if you're Brix, just like you were mentioning. Remember, in this kind of competition, when you're having such a start cutoff, your competitors having lower placements means good for you. That's the nature of points. It's a zero-sum game.
Yes, it's all relative. For Sina, though, I think they're looking to beat up Solar Gazang and Brix by the dozen. We've got a champion duplicator waiting there for Sina, so their board is very strong. I mean, and look at that bench as well. That's just absurd.
Waiting on those dragons here for Sinar, trying to make the pivot. Has a good setup with the Bard and the Zoe as well. Tons of utility here for the Sohm in the backline. Running up against Solo Gasang's built different board. I suspect this one should be in the bag here for Sinar.
Yeah, we know that the built different, especially at gold, has got a pretty hard cap on it generally. I mean, Graves is trying his darndest, bless him. At least he hasn't got these shields. It's going to be a little tight, and the CC just misses.
Bard, no! Not going to be able to pull it out.
It's a light loss, and Solar Gazang keeps their win streak going.
Yep, down to the top 3. All of these players potentially within 2 losses of elimination. These next couple of rounds are going to be spicy.
All right, so everyone's pretty close in the HP. Solo again, the only player win streaking. You got some decent items on the carousel, also some very generic items as well. It should be pretty good for everybody. We are heading across to friend Brix. Let's see what they've got for us.
Of course, this is going to be that Graves Seraphine composition we have talked to death over the past 2 days, but it's going to be sitting there strong. You've got already 3 items on him. Titan's Resolve, Runan's Hurricane, and Bloodthirster will keep him alive forever and ever.
Uh-oh.
Unless you run into a triple dragon composition, that is.
This has been brewing for a while. The dragons have finally arrived in the Dragonlands. It's time to go up against the Ghosts. I think we'll switch across the Brix to see the live one for real.
Graves versus Graves. You got to watch the backlines for both of these compositions. But Brix's Graves completely uncontested in the front line. And Solo's having a whole hell of a lot of trouble as he gets taken down. Brix with a massive board lead. Not going to be enough to take down Solo, but enough to secure a pretty solid lead against the rest of the lobby.
And this has been the story of this game. Players, like crabs in a bucket, clawing each other down, making sure that no win streak remains untouched for any amount of time. I think Brix is feeling pretty damn happy. That front line is so strong. The Zephyr again, in this situation where the Dragons, they're uniquely vulnerable to the Zephyr, of course, because they take up 2 slots each.
Yeah. That's going to be huge. We've seen how strong Zephyr is in competitive just in general, but especially against Dragons, as you mentioned, it is going to be make or break as Sinar picks up Aoshin 2.
All right, well, we're Dragon Imperialists no longer, apparently. It's all about bringing out the thunder. We've got Aoshin, we've got Assault, softening them up. It's the initial black hole. Brix will be trying to chew through that front line and access the big damage dealers as quickly as they can. The cards are coming. The Aoshin is brewing. Brix knows the end is nigh. The lightning rains down. Everybody's dying. One more Pantheon survives. He's just too tanky.
The lone warrior will take down the dragon god of lightning, and Sinar will fall as Brix takes first in day number 1.
That is unbelievable! We just haven't seen that kind of level of tankiness in these parts for many years!
And it's so funny because yesterday, while watching all of our games, we saw a Pantheon 3 as well in the North American regionals, and I was sitting there being like, this unit is so useless.